Welcome to Their Side Live. Most of you will have remembered myself. I'm Dean, and I've been here for the last couple of weeks, which has been great, and so has Grant. And our guest today, which I'm really excited about, is the young Will Stoyles. And I have to say young because he's much younger than me, but welcome, Will. How did you get started way back when you were a little tacker?
So I grew up in Fitzroy, the streets of Fitzroy, just off Brunswick Street. And we had a little crew of people. I had Jake and Merlin from New Zealand, and they were like my parents' best friends. So we kind of just hung out and did whatever we did. It was the late 80s, and we kind of got into roller skating, then BMX, and then I just remember still to this day, Herb, Jake and Merlin's father, who's sadly passed, walking down the street with a ciggy in his mouth and a skateboard under his arm, 2 skateboards under his arm, and I was like, saw him walking home before he'd gotten to see the kids, and I was like, whoa, what's that? You know, I didn't even know what a skateboard was, and I was like, took it off him and was looking at it and going, oh, you know, like looking at this, and he's like, it's a skateboard, you know, like, and I was like, no shit, I really want one of those, you know, so he went home, gave it to Jake and Merlin, and then I ran home straight away and said, Mum, Jake and Merlin getting a skateboard, I've got to get one, you know, like, please get me one. And they're like, yeah, whatever, you know, like, and then we had a school across the road that was kind of in between both of our houses. So they kind of went for a skate that day, and I just had to tag along and were kneeboarding and all that stuff. And then I think it was like a day or two later, I got home from school and there was this AP Pro sitting in the...
Did you get the claw?
No, it was the one that had like a cobra on it with like a Rambo dude, like with a big gun. Right, it was like white, and it was gangster, you know, like it was so...
So you saw the skateboards, you didn't see skateboarding. You saw the skateboards and instantly thought, that looks like a cool thing.
Yeah.
You hadn't even seen how it was used.
No, not at all. So then kind of picked it up, ran across to the street, and I still remember like that first skate where I just was like cruising around, and I did like a Burt slide, you know, like a cess slide with my hands on the ground, kneeboarding and stuff, because the guys were already like kind of 2 days ahead of me, so I had to catch up real quick.
Oh no, 2 days?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So, you know.
2 whole days of skateboarding in advance, wow.
Yeah, so that was kind of, it was rad though, you know, because we had a crew to skate with and a local school to skate there, and so yeah, we just skated like flat out all the time, and it just kept us busy, and yeah, it was rad, you know.
And so they were into it as much as you, so you had someone to jump around with all the time.
Yeah, and through that we kind of met more local kids in the area, because just after that the Snake Pit opened up on Brunswick Street, Fitzroy. Yep. And I just remember too, like walking into that shop and they had boards to the roof, and I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I just remember looking up at all these boards with, you know, it was the Tony Hawk era and like the PAL era, and just looking at all these cool skulls, you know, and the names, like I didn't know that they were people's names, like Tony Hawk, Mike McGill, Per Wellander, like Nicky Guerrero. I thought they were all brands, you know. I was like, wow, you know, like that's so cool, like skulls and blood and, you know, all that stuff. So like I remember like begging my father like to get me like one of those good boards, like one of the, you know, proper boards. So yeah, I full hit him up and like nagged him, and then I had an older friend who I met through skating just in the crew called Juniper, who he had like one of the Santa Cruz decks or something like that. I can't remember which one it was, but he was like, you got to get this board, this trucks, this wheels. So he told me what I needed to get, so I was prepared.
So there's always been a fashion in skateboarding. Yeah. You've got to have these brands.
Yeah. Well, he was just probably telling me the stuff that he thought was cool, you know. So yeah, I took Dad in there, and he looked at and I think it, like the price of what I wanted came to like $360, and he's like, geez, this is expensive hobby, you know, like, and then there was like the Veriflex boards, the pink ones, and they were like $180 or something, and he's like, why don't you get that one, in 18 months I'll buy you another one if you're still into skating. I said, no, I don't want a pink board, I want the black one with the skull and crossbones. So
don't talk about the voodoo, because actually last week we heard about Grant not winning the
I'm
early
still
bird comp.
shattered about not winning that voodoo.
So he turned one up. He was going to get...
You turned one down.
Turned one down, yeah.
That was paid for though. You pretty earned it, you know. So,
I did earn it. But Tony ripped me off by judging and making the other kid win. So
hey, just quickly, back in the day at the Snake Pit on Brunswick Street, it was a pretty cool store actually. I do remember it.
Man, that was a road trip, getting on the tram, going there.
Nah, it was pretty
anticipation. It wasn't a big road trip, but anticipation of getting there, and
it was right around the corner from my house. So I used to walk past it on the way to school and the way home. So
you were teasing the whole time. Brett, who used to work in
Brady Harker, So I got some funny stories about him working in the store.
I was just going to say though, some of the stuff they sold, they were pretty good with their brands and stuff. Though, but did they sell single fin beer by any chance? Because this is our fantastic sponsor. And there you go, our fantastic sponsor who have looked after us for the last couple of weeks. And in fact, it's not just a great thing that they're giving us beer, but it's actually a really good beer. So sorry to interrupt the program with a
I went and bought some today. I actually went to the shop and I'm like, if it's there, I'm buying it for sure, because I loved it last week. I loved it probably a little bit too much, which is why I had so many toilet breaks. But you know, it was good fun. So
well, I would have been a bit young to see if they sold beer, but don't think craft beer was around back then. So
it wasn't that much longer down the track before beer came into your life. I'm sure we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But we were going to talk about some Brett stories. So
but maybe I'll tell a funny story about the actual day I bought my complete setup. So we used to skate around the streets and we'd always just bomb hills, and like we'd always, you know, like we had a few hills that we went to skate. And
hills in Fitzroy?
Fitzroy, yeah. Well, there was a Safeway car park which we used to skate, and there was a little hill that went up to this car park and you'd skate down it and then go on to Smith Street. So I used to always bomb that hill on my AP board and always be last. You know, we'd always race down like you guys. We never gave each other $1 for winning because we were poor, you know. But so we'd always race and I'd always come last. And then the day I got my complete setup, it was a Purwell under deck with red rails and then tracker trucks, Hazoi rocket wheels, and then some pretty Nachi bearings or something like that.
The Hazoi rockets were a little taller than the OJs and stuff. Though. So they would have been fast.
I think they were the pink ones or something like that. But they were. Yeah, it was tight. So I got to the top of the hill. I'm like, yeah, sick, I'm going to win this race, you know. So I get to the top, we start going down. I take 5 pushes. And all my mates are behind me. So I'm just like, yeah, I've won this. I'm like, looking back at it, I'm like, yeah, sick. And then like Smith Street's approaching. So I'm like, damn, I've got to get off this. So I ran out of it and I was going so fast. I still remember kicking myself in the back of the head because my legs went that far.
yourself running.
Like running and then kick myself in the back of the head.
Just giving him a scorpion.
And did the scorpion on the gravel and then got up and I'm dusting myself off, you know, going, oh, still in shock. And my mates get down, Jake and Mel, and they're like looking at me. I'm like, why are you looking at me? They're like, whoa, look at your arms. I'm like, oh shit. So I was all bleeding and stuff like that. So I was just like.
But you won.
Yeah, I won. And, you know, and I had this massive, you know, like, scar to show for it. So that was a cool story from that day, the first day. But I was hooked, you know, like, and there was other hills around Fitzroy that we used to skate, and once we learnt cess slides and stuff like that, then that just changed everything. You know, just
control your speed.
Yeah. You know. But yeah, back to the snake pit stories with Brady Harker, you were saying. So he was this big burly guy from New Zealand, you know, Maori dude. And
so much more of a surfer type of dude than a skate type of dude.
Such a gentle giant and just such a rad dude. And was so kind of cool with all the kids in the area. And he had a mate of his, like, he really liked Oliver McClatchy, who lived like even closer than me. Like, he lived pretty much next door to it. So he used to always like give him stuff, you know, like his old boards and stuff like that. We'd always be jealous as, you know, because he was getting all this free stuff. He wasn't sponsored and he wasn't like, so he's just
wasn't that good.
Yeah, he wasn't as good as we thought we were, and we were like, well, why isn't he giving it to us, you know? But anyway, like, that's beyond the point. Oliver's a rad dude, and but he used to they used to store ramps out the back there, and there used to be a taxi rank, and every Friday or Saturday it was like just a spine ramp with no coping on it, and he'd pull that out and we'd just have little comps there and stuff like that. And same story as you, I think Oliver used to always win the comps, but he didn't do any tricks. You know?
It was Tony Hell judging for
it. So Brett was judging, and he'd like give away T-shirts, stickers, or whatever. We would be stoked, you know, just being out, and then he'd, after the comp, he'd just get out there and do a big, like, you know, nose grab, transfer over it and whack his tail down, and we'd just be like, this guy's the boss, you know. And,
is that the ramps they used to take to Edinburgh Gardens as well?
The little snake sessions they used to have there.
You're talking about that, and I remember going to a couple. I think it was just ones that we could carry out, because he'd be like, some days he'd be like, no, you guys just go grab it, you know, and he'd sometimes...
And you were only like 9 or 10.
Yeah, so I think I'd hit about 10. I think it was a couple of years before I got the pro board. I would have been 9 or 10. And because I remember this one story too with Brett. He had this thin sheet of metal, and it was like kind of wobbly, you know, like super thin. And he's like, I'll give anyone any board in the shop if I can whack this bit of metal on your hand, type thing. And we're all like, and we're so thinking about it. And he's like, I'll do it for you just once to see it, you know. And so he gets the metal and goes, whack, like that, and the metal just went like that. Like he did it super hard, you know. Like, and we're like, nah, I don't think I want a broken hand for that, you know. But that was just kind of some of the rad shit.
One of my friends got, he met Borgie at Paran one day, and Borgie had this rad ring that he liked. And he's like, oh, I love that ring, man. Can I get that? And Borgie's like, yeah, you got to give me a blowjob. And my friend was like, he was thinking about it.
No shit.
And it's like, oh man, what a gnarly place we lived in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
exploitation of kids.
Well, apparently to get on the Badlands team, you had to wipe your ass with Worcester grip tape. Like that was the rumor. Like
that stuff was.
And I used to hear a lot of rumors as a kid. You know, like
you were almost on the Badland team though, weren't you?
Yeah, I got a pile of stickers, one-eyed Chris. So we were the same school I'm talking about that we used to like to skate every day, and it had a little wooden bench that we used to just do board slides and like just cruise around. It was like a little kind of bang thing like that roll over, and a 3-stair and stuff, and I could actually hear people skating from my house. So one day I was like at home and I could hear these skateboards. I'm like, oh, got to get out there, you know, who's there? So I ran over, took the dog across, and it's all these biker looking dudes. I'm just like, oh yeah, I didn't care, you know, I'm 10 years old. So I'm just like, cool, hey guys, you know, what's up? And they were all super chill, and like I started doing my board slides, hopping on board slides, and I don't think I was even making it, but I was sliding them. I was getting close, kind of. And then one-eyed Chris just said to me, oh man, you're rad, you know, like you need some Borgie rails, you know, come by the shop, and gave me a stack of Badland stickers like that big, you know, like, and goes, here you go, come and I'll give you some rails.
Yeah, you know? Just for people who may not have grown up in the same era, Borgie made these copers, so the truck protectors, and rails and tailbones and stuff like that, and they were the best. He had the best mix of the plastic or whatever it was used, so it would have been when you would have been offered that, it was like, yeah, going to get the best gear.
Yeah, so I was like, I couldn't believe it, and then I told my friends Jake and Merlin and Juniper and all those guys that I was riding for Badlands, you know, and they were like, bullshit, because I wasn't as good as them, and they were all older, and they're like, bullshit, and I go, he invited me to his ramp, so he said, I'll come down on Saturday for a skate, you know. I'm like, yeah, cool. So as a little kid, I probably didn't get much sleep that night, woke up 6 a.m, probably left the house at 7 a.m, got to Badlands on Johnson Street in Collingwood, knocked on the door, probably for about 20 minutes, you know, bashing it, and then Borgie gets to the door. I don't think I'd met Borgie by that stage. He had white hair, you know, he was punk as, you know, and he's like, what? I'm like, Chris said I could skate the ramp. He goes, did he? Out the back, you know, like you could tell, I don't know, he was on a bender or just mega hungover, and he's like, we're walking through the store, and he's like, don't fucking touch anything. And I was like, and I don't think I maybe had skated a mini ramp before and stuff, but yeah, get outside, and there's this red ramp, you know, like one side didn't have coping, super tight, like the tightest ramp I've ever skated.
It was only like 3 or 4 foot high, but real tight, wasn't it?
Real tight, yeah, and skated that like for hours, I think probably about 4 hours by myself, and then all the crew rocked up, and I just sat down and watched them skate and tear it apart. You know?
There were some crazy parties and stuff there, skate parties.
I've known about them, so before my time for partying.
That did come in later on. Around about that time then, so you're sort of 10, 11 years old at this point, and you're starting to get a bit of a chance to travel to some other skate parks and things. And what about, you mentioned a few names there, Ralph and Ben Harris and those guys, and Sean Kavanagh.
Yeah.
Who were your influences back then? And maybe let's have a think of that as who were your local influences, and obviously then who were the pros you looked up to at the time as well. So,
well, because we're kind of just such in a bubble in Fitzroy. Obviously Jake and Merlin, and anyone that was older than me. So I think Merlin Wilford was a big influence to me, because he was a few years older than me, 5 years older or something, and this guy Juniper.
I remember those names, Wilford and Juniper.
Yeah. So they were in the area, and that, you know, they used to like. They'd tell us all the rumours about what was going on and stuff, you know.
Had you been to Paran at that point, or is it you were still more local?
I don't think, like I might have gone, yeah. I think, I remember a story once we tried to skate to Paran from Fitzroy, and we got to Richmond, I think, and then had to turn back because we only had an hour and a half to get home. So yeah, and it was, I still remember it was Merlin's fault, because he's like, yeah, we'll go to Paran, you know, like, and then we can skate there, it doesn't matter, you know. So I think we skated, because we were pretty close to the city, so it wasn't too far.
Yeah.
But so we skated right through the city, and then we skated up, we got to Bridge Road or something like that, and started skating up Bridge Road, and we got to like almost towards Kew or something like that, and we're like, and this was before, obviously, internet and lots of people born, but like you'd just you'd have the magazine and you get the address in the magazine, so you know, and then you'd be like, oh, cool, and then
it used to be like a thing at the back, I think, of the magazines.
And we'd start to skate to a spot and we'd just ask people in the area. So like I remember going to Chelsea once, catching the train out to Chelsea, a bit later on, and we'd get off the train stop, where's the skate park? Oh, it's down that road, and you start skating, you couldn't find it. You're like, where's the skate park? Where's the skate park? And then people would tell you, you know.
Well, Dean was one for that. We'd go on like interstate skate trips or go to country towns to find a skate park, and we're like, do you want to like look up in a map and see where something might be, or do you want to figure it out? Nah, we'll just drive for like 8 hours to get there, and then we'll just drive around in circles for a while. And
we hardly ever asked. We'd go to you'd aim for the pool, because often it's near the pool or the oval. And then if it wasn't there, then you would ask someone.
Did you skate that Fairfield ramp at all at the pool in Sydney?
Yeah.
That was great.
That was pretty much
that was awesome. I went there for a comp.
Yeah, wow.
And it was pretty awesome because I just skated the mini ramp comp, but they had the vert comp as well, and there was so many people, all undercover, kind of open on the sides, but all undercover.
The shed roof over it.
Yeah.
That was that little kid Veach that ripped that place up. Mary kid, I think.
No, that's like Michael
Sydney.
Donovan and Michael Donovan and Denman, sorry, and Skunks, you know, like you know, stomping ground and stuff like that. So
that was right.
It wasn't Michael Donovan, wasn't it? The Sydney guy.
Davo.
Oh, Davo.
Yeah. So sorry about that. But so we used to just find skate parks, from the magazine, and then asking people how to get there and stuff, you know. And I remember even like when I tried to do solo missions by myself, I tried to get to Northcote vert ramp, you know, and it's not that far from Fitzroy when you think about it. And I remember almost getting there, and then some guy we got to the 7-Eleven near there and asked the guy where it was, and he goes, where are you from? I go, Fitzroy. He goes, you're too far from home, mate, go home. I was like, all right, yeah, cool, you know, I just went home, so, but so sorry, talking about influences, so those guys definitely for me, and then I think as I moved on, and I got more into skating and more aware of what was going on, I think definitely Ralph Fortura was a big influence, and Ben Harris, he was kind of my age, but I was still influenced by what he was doing, and Sean Kavanagh, and the guys I'd seen in the magazine, so like obviously YouTube, like I'd see and hear about you guys at Paran and see the photos and stuff, and then you'd go there and you guys would be there, but also a lot of the vert dudes, you know, so definitely Gary Valentine was a big influence on me, just because he was a pro, you know, and he worked at the shop as well later on. As I got a bit older, you know, hitting 12, 13, 14, he was there constantly, and then travelling back overseas and back and forth, and he'd always be telling me about it, and then he'd have all this Haight Street stuff that they wouldn't even have in the shop, you know, like, because he was on Haight Street at the time, and then he moved from that to Smithstick, I think, but so those guys. And
Did he work at Fitzroy?
Fitzroy, so he worked there for a stint.
Because then he was always at Paran store.
So I think they moved him.
He ran that.
Yeah, so I think started off or one or the other. It's kind of a bit of a haze that time, but definitely those guys.
It's a bit of a haze because it was over 30 years ago.
Yeah,
it's hard to remember all the details.
Piece it together,
and the timelines, you're missing
all this stuff. You just,
stuff gets mixed up.
Yeah, trying to figure it all out. There was a bunch of photos even I was looking at going, no, that one's 2 years later, and that one's, hang on, that was before this. Piecing it all together, and even trying to figure out where, like, knowing you, like, I remember we were always skating at Paran, and you were like the little kid there sort of thing, because you're only 4 years younger than us. When you're thinking...
No. Oh, yeah, you.
Than me, But, when you're thinking, like, you know, I might have been 16 and you're only 12. Like, there's a bit of a gap there.
It's big, and you got to think, too, that there weren't that many young kids skating, like, so I was kind of more of a, look at this kid, you know, and you didn't have to be. So I think a lot of you guys, like, especially, were really nice to me and, like, would help out, like, and be stoked on the young dude, and, you know, like, I always fed off that and felt really, like, part of a scene that really looked out for me, you know.
Oh, you definitely were. Like, that was the thing. It was just...
It was always something I'd try.
Yes.
Try to look after the kids, because they were part of every, you know, without the kids, nothing else matters. So.
And that's it. And it got harder too, because Jake and Merlin went back to New Zealand, and then a few people got out of skating, and so I think that's around the time that I started skating with, Ralph and Ben and Sean and Harry Fung and Brendan. And yeah, I remember this day kind of, I was thinking about it last night, you know, trying to get to where I kind of realised that skating kind of got a bit more serious to me. And the 1990 grand final where Collingwood made it.
Won?
Yeah, won it. And I was so, like, Collingwood, I used to go to all the games, would always lose, and it was always sad. And I was kind of torn between skating and football, you know, like going to football. It was like two things, separate things. So all my schoolmates would love footy and hate Collingwood, and I'd like skating, and all my mates would probably hate skating as well, type thing. But I think that year we made the grand final. It was grand final day 1990. I went for a skate at City Square, and we went and skated the pit, and it was with that crew that I was talking about before. And I think I did like ollied into it and Ollie melancholied it and one-footed into the pit. Yeah. And I remember that day going, like getting home, and Collingwood run the grand final. Sorry to my parents, but I didn't care. Like, I was just like, I found something. Skateboarding is way more.
So that mellow into the pit was better than Collingwood winning.
Life. Yeah, it changed my life.
And they hadn't won for ages, and everyone was.
Yeah. You know, and my parents were like, they're back with the champagne, and they're like, oh, we found you a ticket. We tried to call home. We're thinking you're going to be at home watching it. I was like, nah. I went out skating in the city, and I just got the whole day to do it. And it was dead. Like, back then, you got to remember 1990 when the grand finals on. Streets were dead, especially the city. I remember going street skating in the city. Like, most of the buildings were shut on Saturday, and everything was shut on Saturday.
Now it's like 7 days trading. It used to be like, even Saturday was barely anything going. Sunday was
Saturday afternoon. It would be closed by 2 o'clock.
It was a ghost town.
And Sundays were just the best. Like skating like Rialto, you know. Like
and there wasn't security as well.
Not at all. Not at all.
And very rarely. Anyway.
And it was undercover too, so it was like the go-to spot, you know. And downhill run up to a 7-stair. It was like so much fun. So
that's awesome. And what about the international type pros that you would have aspired to, or who was your favourite back then?
Back then, geez, obviously Tony Hawk and Hazoi, you know, like but I think my biggest was Chris Miller, actually. Yeah, it's got to be Chris Miller, just because I think I got a couple of his balls. I got a Chris Miller mini after that.
The Schmidt sticks.
Yeah. The mini one, and was psyched on that. And I remember going to that ramp ride that was at Festival Hall.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'll never forget this. I remember he was destroying the ramp, and then he did an alley-oop backside 50-50 and was going so fast he went off the side of the ramp, fell off the 10-foot ramp, grabbed his board, ran up and finished his run, you know, and I was just like, oh my God. It could have been practice or it could have been in his run, but I was kind of sitting about 10 rows back, and that changed my life forever.
So much power.
Yeah.
Love it.
And I remember seeing Danny Way, everyone used to talk about because he was a kid, a brat kid or whatever at the time, and I think
the only reason he was a brat kid was he did so many tricks.
Yeah. So he just expected more, and I think he cried behind the ramp after it, not making a run and stuff. And well, that could have been my friends telling me that, you know, like, but yeah.
Well, we'll go with that.
We'll believe it.
But I mean, he's a legend of a dude, you know, like you can see I got a photo with him, and like the guy's a bloody absolute demon on the skateboard and has done so much for skateboarding too, you know.
It's insane.
And so you're a bit of a competition fiend. You've been involved in skate comps forever. You've still been, in recent years, getting involved in skate comps as well. Incidentally, your current ranking is 1,813th. So
did you look that up?
Yeah, next year, the year before you were at 1,037th. So you've gone backwards by 800 odd.
Wow. Is that in the Masters division or?
Just overall, mate.
Overall? Yeah. Jeez. But all those wins, you know, got to equate to something, don't they?
Yeah, so 1,800...
I think that number's made up. I think it's...
I don't know how they would come up with that number, but you got some work to do to get back to your old form.
Damn, I got to go now and start skating, all right? So
do you remember your first comp?
I think, yes. All right, it might have been a Q comp. Back in the day, I remember when
Snake Pit Q comps, Again, the Sunday trading, there was no trading.
So they wouldn't have had any permits or anything. They just would have rocked up, and I think I remember a time where we rocked up and they got kicked out or something, but I'm not too sure. But it was definitely one of those comps. I think one year I went and watched because it was undercover because it was raining, and I remember they had the massive
I remember that one. They had
ramp.
to move it from upstairs to downstairs, and it was only a smaller spot.
Was that the time we had the rail as well? We had a rail that we built that had a little launch ramp in front of it, and then that went down.
Not sure. I just remember the big spine
That wasn't one of
ramp,
our ones, no.
And that was, excuse me, it was really vert-centered type thing, those things, you know, like the vert guys would win it easily type thing, and just remember watching because I was still pretty short. But I think the next year I went in it, and it was you were talking about it before, the Q joke comp.
Yeah.
Or there could have been another one that was on there, and I remember getting dead last, but being so nervous but so stoked I went in it. And I think like that was kind of, I didn't care, you know, like I was like, yeah, I'm in the comp, you know, like wanted to go in it with my homies, and it was like about 4 or 5, and they did an under 13s for us, and we went in it. And then after that there was a few, I think, I went in like 5 other comps and always got last or second last, you know, and it was like, I was stoked that time I got second last, by the way. I was just like, yes,
not last.
Yeah, like not last, you know, like.
I might have been judging that day.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Well,
I'll take that.
I'll give you
Not
a beer later.
No, if Helen was judging, you would have got last again.
Oh, definitely, yeah. No, I would have sucked up to him and maybe won something. No, but yeah. So then, but I remember going in all those comps, and then there was, I remember always getting last. But then there was this one year, it was the Red Hot Chili Peppers' new album came out, and they did that comp to release the new album, and it was in the city square, and it was an invitational comp, and I used to like always go on comps, and they brought the hardcore ramps there and stuff like that. Remember the tight ramp and then the looser ramp and stuff like that? Like,
the blue ones.
Yeah. And I used to go in all the hardcore comps too that were at the store as well, like the Sunday ones.
Warehouse.
Yeah.
The ones at the warehouse in Abbotsford.
Yeah, in the car park. Yeah. And so I used to go to those ones, and everyone would do really well at those. And so I was used to those ramps a little bit, but never did well in the comps. But then I don't know how I got the invitation for it, but they were releasing the Red Hot Chili Peppers album, Blood, Sweat, Sugar Magic. And so I got invited to the comp, and they gave me, you had to wear the t-shirt, which went down to my knees. And I went in the comp, and I did really well. Like I surprised myself, like I was doing all these tricks. So that, like usually I just used to fall off in the comps. I get so nervous I'd fall off, and this one time I just did everything, and like I think I got 5th or 6th. I think Jason Ellis won it, Ben Harris got 2nd, and I got like 5th or something like that. And then just after that, Mark Burstall from Surf Dive and Ski was like, hey man, you know, ride for Surf Dive and Ski. And I was like, yeah, like Snake Pit, I'm only on the 10% team, you know, so like, what are you guys going to do for us? Like, I wasn't like, what are you going to do for us? I was just psyched, actually, that someone said, hey, do you want to ride for a shot?
Deals like that used to be, you'd get a board a month or something, and, and then 10% off other product or something like that. It was pretty...
They had this new thing that Mark Burstall, cheers Mark Burstall if you're watching, but he invented the shop deal that went after that for about 10 years, where you get a free board, brand new, whatever you wanted, you'd skate it for 3 weeks, and then you'd give it back to the store, and they'd sell it, and that was perfect for me, because all I did was nose slides or switch nose slides. I never did board slides, you know, and that worked well for me because I wouldn't scratch the graphic off, so people would come in and buy a second-hand board for $80 back in the day, you know, like, because they're saving.
You were making surf dive money.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think Ben.
Did Mark pick you based on the fact that you weren't doing rail slides? He was like, "This is the one."
Yeah, he's like,
"This is
no, I think he asked me not to do rail slides. He saw me one. He goes, "Hey man, don't scratch your back." But Buzzer got on later too, and as you know, Buzzer just was a destroyer. But he got in so much because you had to pay for the deck if you couldn't sell it. So they'd say, if you had more than 2 boards in there, they'd say, no, you can't get a deck. You're going to have to. And Buzzer just got in this cycle. Jason Burrows, for those who don't know, of just kept having to keep his board for longer, and then he'd break it, and you know, and then he'd be like, I'll pay you back, and he got this massive debt type thing, and then there's like, the ride skater Buzzer, but we can't hook you anymore. So
he was absolutely a ripper. He did some of the most amazing things, and did it like so stylishly.
I remember seeing pro demos where he was killing the pros. He could do anything.
Didn't make any friends doing that, but he was known as
like you and Matt Hensley.
Yeah, I heard that story. That was terrible. And you actually said in your face? Or
yeah.
oh my God.
With that as well. Yeah.
And then you asked him to do it.
It's pretty harsh.
Did you do a step-off one or a real one?
Real one.
Okay, but yeah, that's terrible. I mean, he should have pulled out his guitar and, you know, like...
No, he plays the...
ukulele, is it?
No, the like a
Irish
bagpipey thing with the piano. What do you call it? Accordion?
Harpsichord. Okay,
yeah, he plays that. Imagine he could have like gone with a bit of extension on the
or he could have just grabbed you and crushed it.
Yeah.
And
well trained.
Pressed all your pressure points as he's doing it. Like, yeah. But,
so you got hooked up with it, surf, dive and ski.
Yeah.
Who else? What other sponsors have you had over the years?
Over the years, so like I got, like Mark would like I think he got me on Converse deal, you know, like back when they were trying to jump back in the skateboard game, and it was just like a pair a month type thing and it was rad, like they were still getting a pair of free shoes, you know, and so that was kind of the first shoe hookup I got. I rode for America for ages, like I suppose that's a bit later on, but...
Yeah, we've got a pair of your favourites here, the Reynolds.
Yeah, Reynolds ones.
Which Reynolds ones are they?
Yeah.
There you go.
They are...
And these ones don't look as though you skated them.
No, so I've worn them out, but I kind of kept them because they're leather and they're kind of slippery, these ones, to actually skate in. I think I've worn them to weddings or to job interviews or something like that, but I just love the cut of the shoes. It's a fat shoe, got a fat tongue, fat heels, and kind of, yeah, just a really durable shoe that I love to skate in. I got lots of pairs of these. So, yeah, I rode for them for, I think, about 10 years. Lots of different board brands. So I rode for...
Did you ever skate for Snake Pit?
No, so I was on the 10% team.
Yeah,
so that crew of skaters around Fitzroy, they won...
Like the Ralph and all those guys you mentioned earlier.
So they started this thing called the 10% team, and then from that, I think Ben Harris, Sean Kavanagh, and Ralph Futura moved onto full sponsorship. And then, and they got pretty good deals out of that. And then I kind of, that's when they moved on, I stayed on that 10% team. I didn't need much stuff because I'd always just get hand-me-downs from whatever, because I didn't really care. Like I remember buying like a board off someone, off Ralph, I think, and it had a nose and a tail that long that was chipped for $10, you know, and I was happy to pay it. I was like psyched, you know, like it's a different board type thing. But then getting asked to ride for Surf Dive was like rad, but I never went to Snake Pit to tell them, like, because as a kid, I didn't know what.
You just didn't go back and get more boards.
I still went and hung out now, because I remember Gary saying, "Oh man, I'm pissed off that you're riding for Surf Dive and Ski," and I was like, "Why though? They're giving me free boards, you know?" And he's like, I don't remember his answer, but you know, it was rad to get free boards. I mean, he could have said, "Well, I'll give you 2 free boards a month," and he said, "Yeah, okay, sweet." But you know, like,
what did you enjoy about the comps? Was it they were fun because you're hooking up with friends? Was it that you won money? Was it that you were in the spotlight? Was it that you got to travel sometimes because of the comps? What was your sort of...
Bit of all, I think bit of everything, you know, really. Like I think I always loved Skateparks, and I always liked the excitement before, like going, and if I knew what the prize was, I'd be like there's comps that I knew what the prize was, so I was like, I have to win it, so I'd go and practice like for a week, 2 weeks before it. I'd be like, I only get this line down. And you've got to remember, this is times when skate comps, you had to stay on, you know, like that's how you won a comp. Like you didn't always have to do the best tricks,
but you had to flow.
You had to flow. You had to flow and chuck it 1 or 2 flip tricks in there, you know, or just, you know, impress the crowd. So I mean,
essentially, you had a strategy on those comps you really wanted. You'd go in with a strategy, and you even mentioned it before with this thing. You know, worked your way up, and then you knew in the final run you could let go a little bit, but
definitely
you were comfortable by that stage. Nerves were under control.
Well, that's it. And when I was still riding for Surf Dive and Ski, Mark Burstall found out from Vans that they were going to do a comp at Riverside. Not Riverside, sorry, Sale Yards. They were going to do a comp there, and first prize was going to be a trip to the States. And I didn't believe it, you know, like I was like, what? My local park, they're going to give... I
remember when that kicked in,
they're going to give a trip away to the States. Bullshit, you know, but I was like, okay, cool. He told me like a week before, so I went there and trained. And I don't think I even told anyone, like, that the comp was on, because I was just like, I want this. Like, there's no other way. I can't afford a flight to America. So I'm going to skate my ass off. So I skated there for like a week and a half, like just getting my run down and everything like that. And that was one comp that I think I had to win type thing for me anyway. Like I didn't put pressure on myself not to do it, but yeah, I just really wanted to win that comp.
We've just lost Pete. I think he's going to do work, and Grant's followed him out on his hands and knees. It's wee time.
Yeah. Just
rabbit bladder.
Yeah.
So that comp, what did you end up winning that comp?
Yeah, so I won that, and still didn't believe it after I won it. You know, like there was no like novelty check or like plane ticket given to me. Not even much Vans branding type thing, but won it, and they're like, yeah, cool. We'll get someone to fax you, you know, your flight details soon. I'm like, when am I going? They're like, oh, don't know, you know, like, so I got home.
And was it to go to America and skate in another comp over there?
So it was called the Vans Warped Tour, and it was a semi-final. So they did one in every country around the world.
And then bring everyone together.
And every state in America. And so, yeah, won that comp. And then they said, what's your details? We'll fax you some details and stuff like that. And then I remember.
Did you have a fax machine?
Yeah, my mum, I was still living at my parents' place at the time, and they had a fax. So,
oh, right, yeah.
And they, and yeah, I told my mum, she didn't believe it. She's like, yeah, you know, like, who's the people? I'm like, I don't know, you know, da da. She's like, so she was getting on the phone, like, trying to contact Vans and like, I want confirmation. I want,
you
know, like,
son.
you know, like, and then so it came through, the fax came through, and yeah, it was surreal, like I'm going to the States, you know, like all expenses paid, like they.
Was it hit and run? Go to the comp, go home, or did you get to go there, hang out a little bit, skate the comp?
Well, it was up to you really. So I extended my flight. So yeah, we got there. The first one was Ventura, California. We stayed right near. It would have been probably 10, 15 minutes away from the skate park, and then we'd be shuttle bussed whenever we wanted to skate.
That was where the comp was going to be at?
Yeah. So I think I only stayed that first time for about 15 days, and then like stayed a bit afterwards, because I was young and just didn't know what I was doing over there, you know. But
how old would you have been at that stage?
19. Yeah. So that was my first major trip over. So I'd been to New Zealand.
And were you still wearing Americas at that point?
Or no, I wasn't even on America at that stage.
So that was even before that. Yeah. So did they give you some Vans to wear and all that?
Yeah, they gave us Vans, and we didn't realise like how much we could have asked for. Like you know, like they gave us these shoes and they weren't half cabs, and I was thinking, oh, it would have been rad to have half cabs. But I think I'd gotten some Globes, some Globe shoes, like a Ben Pappas shoe that I really liked. It was a high cut. I always liked high cuts, and someone had given me the high cuts, and so I took them over. And I didn't even wear the Vans. I think I just threw them away or something like that, or swapped them with someone for something, you know, like. But yeah, like Pete's not here, he's in the toilet. But I remember like being that hard up going to the States that I think my girlfriend at the time won some money on the pokies, and then I had to buy wheels, bearings, and deck bolts, and I ended up, the only deck bolts I had were like the super long one. So I get to the States, and all these guys, like sponsored skaters, are looking at me going, why are you skating this board with, you know, like, here, have some of mine, you know. I'm like, thanks dude. So like, but there was some pretty heavy hitters in that contest, you know, like.
How did that turn out?
I got 19th in that comp out of about 40, so...
It's better than 1800, so...
It was better than my ranking, yeah. Did they factor in that data as well? Like,
that might have been a part of the... otherwise you would have been 2,000 or more. So.
But I remember Bastian Salabanzi was at that contest, like, young kid, he's like that tall, and he was just, like, phenomenal, you know, like, just flipping his board everywhere and just so good to watch and stuff.
That's awesome. It's so good that skating gives you so many of those sort of opportunities, not just locally, but internationally. And in fact, that also then means you get to meet so many people. Bash, he's from France. And then you're meeting him in America. We didn't speak a word
to each other in terms of just, we always thought they would, because they put the Europeans in the van with us, so it was the French, the Australians and the New Zealanders together, and the driver was a French driver from America, so they were talking French to each other as the French usually do, and we just were like paranoid, just going, oh, stop talking French, you know, like they're talking about us, you know, that. But I met some lifelong friends from that, you know, like, so Wayne Taylor was on that trip, you know, never met him before, met him, we stayed together, and then Jake Brown was like just starting his career up over there. I think he was riding for like ATM Click at that time, and And then Pat Rhodes and Ronnie Richter were just on their own road trip. They'd bought a car over their vert skaters. So they jumped in on a hotel room, and then, so...
It's cool how that works, isn't it? It's like, oh yeah, come stay with us, and everyone just jumps in with each
vans
other.
Were like, they were so accommodating. Like Steve Van Duren was such a face of that tour. You know, he was there all the time and stoked to have around. And like one rad story was like we'd all go to the hotel room and have dinner together every night. And I was just like, what? Dinner? How much do you have to pay? I don't have any money to pay. And they're like, no, it's part of the deal, you know. So we're all sitting around, all these skaters from around the world. I think it was like 40 or 50, like I was saying before. And it was funny because the Americans were so competitive and weren't very open to talking, you know. Like there was only a couple that were, like, and they were the ones that just were partying and stuff like that. And that's what we were doing, because like me and Wayne were like, we've already won, you know, we've got a trip to the States, you know, like let's party, you know, like.
Whereas they've just got a trip to their home.
Yeah, they're just travelling like to Sydney or something like that, and that's their big chance type thing.
Did any of those guys that you competed against then go on to be someone?
Yeah, definitely. So
you mentioned Bastian
Salavanzi, obviously. I think PJ Ladd was in one of the comps as well. It could have been the later one that I went to a couple of years ago, and Chris Cole, we were in those comps as well. Lot of different cats, but yeah, it was so rad. Like the Vans crew just took us on, and once they knew Jake Brown was there, Steve's like, yeah, cool, he can come, you know. So he just jumped in on their van and stuff like that, and yeah, rad times.
Awesome. And so on the other side of comps, were there things you didn't like about them? So whether it was the pressure of the comps, but you said you sort of worked that out with some of that training and things you did in preparation. Did you have any real rivals? And was there sort of sponsor expectation? You have to win this comp or you're not getting another board, whatever?
Nah, there's never expectation. I think it was just on myself. But I was always bummed if I didn't place in the comps. And the rivalry is just between our mates, like between Jaff and Reese and Anton. And although it wasn't, probably more, me and Jaff were more vocal about it. Like we'd battle each other at comps and stuff like that. Reese to an extent, you know. Anton was just chill, you know, like cruising around. But you know, all those guys, we just had fun, and all we wanted. Don't touch them, you know.
I'm getting some for the sponsor.
Oh, okay, sure.
Sorry, Reynolds.
But no, we had our healthy rivalry. There was never any beef or anything like that. I mean, there was Blank. Obviously, was a clothing company, and there was a New Zealand company that started up in Australia called Boom, and they were doing boards and stuff like that. And we had a healthy rivalry there, like, because they were like bringing a lot of people in from New Zealand and working at their shop Substance, and we loved to just be like, hey, this is our town, you know, like, and wanting to skate better than them. So we always made it out like, and it was like we really wanted to beat them. Like that was our goal, was just to say, hey, like, it's Melbourne, we want to win, you know. So
did that rivalry went up a notch at one of the Horden comps, didn't it, Will?
Horden comps?
Yeah, one of the surf dive comps, when someone got on the microphone and referred. Well, Jaff always used to go on about it.
Yes,
yeah. Remember, you got called a particular name as your crew.
Was it they called us dirtbags?
That's
they?
it.
Yeah. Damn, and what happened from that? Yeah.
Well, we got a video out of it.
Yeah, we made a whole video. So, yeah.
No, well, that's probably what kept the rivalry going, because
definitely, yeah.
Because, you know, like everyone used to talk about that, like you know, like all the Westie crew were like, fuck those guys, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
and I think it was built up more from our friends too, going like geeing us up type thing. Yeah, and it was like, because you know there was rad dudes on Boom too. You know, like there was like the Mapstones and stuff like that. They were rad, and they were always chill. Anthony Mapstone and Andrew Mapstone.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah, I think I have.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So no, they were always. They're always rad. Like they were always like in between it and stuff like that, and mediating. You know, like I think I had a fight with a certain Boom skater who was like massive. You know, like and just after
massive in size.
Yeah, in size. You know, like and just after we'd been talking about riding for his company, you know, like, or his shop or something like that, and we're having a rad conversation, and then I got out of an elevator and this 6-foot guy starts jumping on me, and I think Anthony had to pull him off him, you know, type thing, and I was just like in shock going.
Was that towards the end of his time in Melbourne?
Might have been, I don't know.
Yeah, I reckon.
I don't know, can't remember, but anyway.
You know who it is.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, they were all, you know, pivotal moments, and just, you know, it just makes and defines you, and it's just, it was fun times, you know, like it's, what's skating without a bit of beef, and you know, like.
But like that worked for, like, you know, like your Sponos, I mean, like for Blank.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone supported Blank, didn't they? You know, like that just became a groundswell.
Oh, well, yeah, it was either one or the other, you know, and it was cool, you know, like, and it was real good times, yeah, like it was fun, because it was just Sale Yards was such a rad spot. It was right in the city, you know, and people would come from all over town and then just jump off the train at Flinders Street, skate up, and then we'd meet up, maybe go for a skate.
Go hang out at the lounge over the road after we finish.
Yeah, exactly. You know, there's so many great spots, you know, and like, yeah, it was just such a good era.
You guys, Sale Yards crew, like, used to get all the junkies coming in early days.
Yeah, well, that was a big time there. The junkies and skaters used to regulate them and stuff and kick them out, you know, because then, you know, they were just looking for somewhere to get high, you know, and we'd just be like, no, this isn't the place, man, you know, like, move on. Like,
giving you guys a bad name, going through people's bags and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of,
Were you there the day Marbles whacked one guy with a...
Probably, yeah. So many
that
times.
was a big day.
Yeah, exactly.
Got the nickname Venture for that.
It's a bit like how Lefty got his nickname, but
a little bit.
This one got nicknamed Venture for the fact the truck hit the head.
I think the junkie had the imprint.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the you know.
Very good. Throw another one over.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, no.
Got a bit of drama in the background.
Taking out the Blank mural.
Did I? No.
That wasn't my board. Jeez.
No, that was Dean's.
All right.
No, it's all right then.
Thanks to our sponsors, Single Fin. If we can get that one up on screen. It's keeping us refreshed and liberated for our discussion. So the comps were a big part of your skating career by the sound of things. You've been involved in forever and you've done so many different versions of them.
Yeah.
Did you win a comp like a couple of months ago? Masters Division?
Masters Division, yeah. There's not many guys going to them, which is a shame. Like, I hit you guys up to come and you gave
I've been away.
gave me
I'm
about
always
got an excuse.
I'm always working on the
Coming
weekend.
next time, you're going down.
Well, you better.
Like, I just want to go. I think you're a bit of a pool hustler, Will.
He's really not
No,
going
but I
down.
want more cats to come to those things because it's rad. Like, Renton's doing some rad comps, King of Concrete, and it's a rad to see the new scene coming through, like all the under 13s, and he's doing like an under 9s and stuff, and then the under 16s and the opens, and it's just rad to see what's out there now with the degree of skating at the moment is just phenomenal. You know, like with all the skate parks, and you know, you guys have touched on it before about it might be easier for kids to skate these days because of all the you know, the variety they've got, but good on them, you know, like, and, you know, it's only going to be good for skating and and I think it's good for the old dudes too to get out to these comps and just have, it's just a fun day, you know, you can have a few beers and have a skate, and usually like it's a jam session, or, you know, if you want to do the run thing, which is, it's pretty scary sometimes.
I'm dying to get out there. It just happens every time one's on. I'm away or something like that. But
well, what we know now is that we need to at least 2 weeks of training.
2 weeks,
2 weeks of training.
See, you will be into the training because that's pretty much the way you work.
Is it Ollie training? I can do that.
Ollie training?
Yeah.
And maybe we'll get a special high Ollie comp going just against you guys, you know, like, and we'll settle it once and for all.
All right.
Do the kids ask what tricks you're doing in these Masters comps?
No, what do you mean? Ask me what tricks I'm doing. Like,
What trick was that?
Shut up, Pete. I still do relevant tricks. They're just you know, the same tricks.
My tricks are old enough that dust still comes off when I do
them. I don't have relevant tricks anymore.
No.
So we're talking about comps. What about demos? You obviously, with so many different sponsors and stuff, you would have probably done a lot of demos.
Oh, amazing.
Any unusual ones, unusual spots, unusual environments, maybe remote areas or things like...
I remember Blank, we used to go to Bendigo a lot, and Warrnambool, like just like country towns, and we used to kind of support the local skate shops out there, and like getting Raf's car, I think it was Danny's car, and we'd just go for a drive and skate this bumfuck like skate park that is so disgusting by these standards these days, you know, that would go out there and spend the night there and just have so much fun, you know, like, and they were great because you just meet local kids who were just psyched on you being there, you know. You probably only have 20, 30 kids there, and it was just rad just to be able to, like, stoke them out.
Just share the stoke,
share the stoke, and then you've got your larger scale ones like Goo used to do, Metro nightclub in the city, used to do a lot of comps and demos in there, and they were kind of fun, you know, like the mini ramp demos and stuff like that, because you kind of felt like a rock star when you were there, and you know, you'd have all these prying eyes on you, and you know, that was the closest to being a rock star I ever felt like, you know.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, and hanging around afterwards, and you know, getting the attention that every you know, teenager, or I'd probably be in my 20s by that stage, but you know, desires and wants type thing, you know. So it's
That would have been a fun time.
Did you enjoy demos more than comps, or comps more than demos?
Definitely comps. Yeah, demos were more because you just had to keep going, and like, yeah, like for me, I preferred to like put a line together and stuff like that, and you can do that in a demo, but then you do the sickest line in your demo, and then you're like, I need to sit down and chill now. Like, people these days in demos just destroy it, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
I think the other thing, when people are watching a demo, they don't appreciate the line as much as a individual trick, a big trick or whatever.
yeah.
It's a
So the
different
line,
setup, yeah.
as a skateboarder, you look at it and you see the technicality of adding that trick after that trick and that line. But
Yeah.
for the most people, demos are, you know, other people watching who aren't necessarily full on into skating, and the big trick is the
Yeah.
highlight.
Well, I think, yeah, and I think the good thing about a demo, I like the build up. So if you're trying a trick, and you're trying, which is probably not what kids want to see these days, but then you finally get it, you know, that's rad, because everyone's like, yeah.
As long as it's not like a whole demo of you bailing one trick over and over. There's like
Colin McKay.
there's historical.
Then I've had demos where I tried that trick the whole demo, I didn't get it, and I was go home, just I didn't want to talk to anyone. It's like, yeah,
Just like over it.
leave me alone, you know, I didn't make that trick, you know, like I hated myself.
Straight to the bar.
Couldn't sleep that night, yeah. So
And just on the comps again, there was a comp where you didn't win but you won, is that right? And Jaff actually had been the winner, but you were the winner, or
look, that
you
was
got to take the spoils, so to speak, is that correct?
no. So
Pete might know the story a little bit.
No, Will knows it.
yeah, so it's the Warped Tour. So they did that comp yearly. So I was like looking forward to the next one. After that first trip, I was like, got back, told everyone, all the crew, you know, like how amazing it was and stuff like that, and you know, So we got back, and then a year later they did the next comp, and it was at a music festival and stuff like that. And I won it big time this time, but it was on mobile ramps in a festival, so I didn't have time to practice. So Jaff won it, you know, like, and yeah, killed it. I got second, excuse me, and unfortunately his father was quite ill that year and passed just after the contest, so he was unable to travel to the States. And out of respect, I think, to him and his father, I didn't push the fact that I should be sent because I got second, and that's what should have happened, but didn't happen. I was bummed for Jaff because I really wanted him to go to the States.
Yeah,
like,
it would have been awesome if he got over
needed
there.
that because he was just like such.
He would have blown some minds over there.
Yeah,
Good
but
time for him.
yeah, but I think too, Jaff was not the best traveller. He kind of, when we do tours and stuff like that, out of his comfort zone, out of his shed and stuff like that, he would not be himself, you know. So he wouldn't be able to function as well as most people. When some people go into state or overseas and they can just shred the part.
That's,
Yeah.
very polite, Will.
Yeah, and then
It was shit house.
he needed a minder pretty much. So yeah, he'd need someone like Pete to take him, and then Pete wouldn't have any money left probably.
No, it's all right. It was okay. We would have done it.
But yeah, so look, you know, that was all right. But then the year after that, they didn't have a comp on in Melbourne, but I heard they're having one in Manly. So I was like, went to Manly, and like, because of my relationship I built with Waynos, you know, I told him about it. I said, Waynos, it's in Manly, and the vert comp, you know, we found out where all the comps were. I'm coming to stay with you. Yeah, let's do it, you know, So I went to stay with Waynos in Bondi. He was living at Bondi at the time with Finn, John Finlay, may he rest in peace.
Yep.
And so I got to experience John Finlay, a legend, you know, like didn't skate with him, but just hung out and partied a bit. And then went to that comp in Manly and won that comp. I beat Jamie Fletcher, which like was so lucky. I had to be on my game for that one. That was one where I couldn't just do a stay on run. I had to do my hardest shit type thing. So for that was my biggest win, that one, because that was like not my home park, and I was travelling and had no money. I think I was living off $5 a day or something like that. So it was like I'd drink a long neck and have like, go to like a spud bar, a spud bar or something like that. So it's maybe $10 on a good day, and then, you know, you'd stack the spud bar and stuff. But that was rad. So I won that comp, and then me and Wayne went to every other vert comp after that. And I think I even went in one vert comp because I didn't have enough people just to build up the numbers so that hopefully he could win it, you know, and then they didn't end up giving one away. But he won one of those vert comps, so we got to go to the States again. So,
cool.
So it was like the old gang back together, and it was so sick, man. Like, it's a bit like being able to share your first trip to the States with someone, but then 2 years later, going back and just like, yes, we did it, you know, like,
and knowing what to expect this time.
Yeah, so well, we knew what to expect, and this time we were staying even closer to the skate park, and Bart Carnes, Ty Colling, and Shane Serena were at the hotel too, so we had 2 hotel rooms together, and of course Jake Brown came, and yeah, but those pricks partied way too hard, and the street comp was on before the vert comp the day before, and so I'd been skating all week at the street course, and it was actually a pretty shitty street course, like for American standards. Like that Ventura one a couple of years before was way better, like way more flowy and all of this. This was kind of just like a 8-foot, you know, like hip flat bank type thing and all this weird stuff. Anyway, but that's beyond the point. But those guys just wanted to party all night the night before the comp and wouldn't let me sleep. Geez, this place is falling apart.
Pretty much. It's cheap rent though.
Yeah. I love what you've done to the place, by the way. You know,
which is nothing.
Nothing. Just let it fall apart. So yeah, that was the greatest, like getting there, and then we actually. So I just like was trying to get to sleep, and I was like, "Fuck off, leave me alone," you know, like, and they're just not letting me sleep type thing. And then eventually, like about 2 a.m., I'm like, "All right, fuck yous," and just grabbed a beer, just partied with them, and then we stayed up till like 5 a.m. in the morning or something, or 6 a.m. Went to sleep, and then they came knocking on the door like, "Your heats are in like half an hour. What are you guys doing?" Because we'd travelled the furthest to get there, and none of us were getting up for like me and. It was Bart Carnes, it was in the street comp, and they're like, fuck off, leave us alone. So they sent Steve Van Doren's daughter, who was quite a busty lady and quite attractive, to come and go, "Hey guys, we really want you to skate the contest, please." And we're like, "Yep, okay, cool." We all got up. I was like, "Yeah, we'll just jump in the shower," you know, jump in the shower, had a coffee, and then got down there and, yeah, skated like trash, you know, like, and really blew it. But, you know, it's a story to tell, and you know, of what not to do when you're getting all expenses paid to the States.
Did you tell a story about your first trip that you told me?
What about?
Being a little bit disorganised, probably your first trip overseas, and racing into a store and buying some equipment.
Oh yeah, before the 2-inch bolts or whatever. Yeah.
You told that?
Yeah.
Glad that one got out.
That was shocking. Yeah.
No, that's all right. It was nerves, man.
Well, that's
all it was.
With those occasions, getting the chance to go overseas and compete, when you were heading over there, the first one was all new, and it was you, like you said, you'd already won.
Yeah.
But the second one, did you feel that was, okay, that's not, I haven't won yet, I've got to go there and then win, and then I'll be able to do more in the States?
Yeah. Well, I think that second one, I extended my trip longer and stayed with Jake Brown and Chad Vock at their house and a photographer called Theo Hound. So I had this opportunity to like skate with these guys a lot more, and I don't know what my mindset was. Video cameras and you know, like photography wasn't. You had to organise it, you know, and I just felt like I went over there and there was other Aussies over there that had been there for months and not making it all and ripping, and I just, yeah, I still felt out of my comfort zone. I wanted to do something, but I didn't have. I think what you need if you're in that situation is maybe someone like-minded with you. Say, for instance, to go, let's do it together. Come on, we're gonna take America by storm. Let's do
rather
it. Like,
than get sidetracked with the party.
Yeah, I was doing much partying. Now I was just on such a budget over there too that I was scared of like doing dumb shit maybe. So I was like trying to stay kind of out of trouble because of the last time, and also too, just didn't have anyone like an Aussie, because I think Wayne stayed at some other place. So Wayne stayed at the same house, but he's a vert skater, so he wasn't like down for the street skate. And to get in a car with a photographer, you know, like I had a chance to go skate with Chad Musker one morning. I just, instead of doing that, I just stayed in bed, you know, like, because I think I was down to my last $10 and I had like 2 weeks to go type thing. So I was living off, you know, Mexican tacos and stuff like that. But Brad's story to tell about that trip too. Went to about being scared, obviously. like Rune Glifberg was coming around to the house a bit with Chad Vock and Jake Brown, and I was just starstruck. You know, Rune Glifberg was like, he was one of my favourite vert skaters of all time. You know, so he's like, let's go to Mexico. You know, it's like, what do you mean Mexico? And we're staying in San Diego. I'm like, and they're like, yeah, it's only an hour drive away. I'm like, oh, I've only got $10. They're like, yeah, dollar Coronas and tacos, you'll be fine. You know, let's go. So I'm like, let's go. Okay, sweet. Jump in Rune's BMW and we drive across the border, get there type thing. You got to walk across. I actually parked in San Diego, then we walked across the border.
Yeah.
Don't need anything to get into Mexico. On the way back in, so we stayed there for the day, you know, we didn't go very far, and then I saw kind of real poverty at that stage, you know, like real little kids trying to sell you chewing gums, and you're just like, oh, how cute, you know, poor kid, you know, and then 5 seconds later there's 100 more, you know, like da-da-da, and then kind of saw that real poor side of America and Mexico. And then on the way back in, so they all had American passports, so they just went to another line, walked straight through, and I got to go this line. It was a big queue, like it's internationals. And back then, with your passport, you used to have a kind of, they put the visa, they'd staple it on to your passport. And for some reason, I'd always kept my passport safe in the bag at Chad Vock's place and Jake Brown's place. And then it was tearing off a little bit. So I was like, oh, I don't want to lose that. I don't know what, I was that young, I didn't even know what it was. So I ripped it off, put it in my backpack. So then I get through finally to the line, show my passport, and they're like, where's your visa? I go, what's a visa? And they're like, your visa thing. I go, oh yeah, it's just in my bag, like back at the house. And they're like, where are you staying? I go, Costa Mesa. And they go, what's the address? I go, don't know. Didn't know the street, didn't know the number. Just to Costa Mesa, who you staying with? Chad Vock and Jake Brown. Go that line over there. I'm like, what? I can't go through. I'm like, no, go that line over there. So I'm like, shit. So I go walk to this other line. I'm standing in this line about 5 or 6 deep. And then I'm watching the people, like, they're standing behind the line, then they go up and they're like, yep. And these guys are pulling stuff that's in their pocket out to show the people, and it was drugs and stuff, like pot and, like, you know, whatever it was, you know, they're showing it, and they're like, yep, cool. And they're frog marching him out the back, and I'm like, I'm fucked, you know, like, and this has been about an hour and a half, 2 hours later. I'm in Mexico thinking, those guys were in and that they've left, you know, like they're sick of me, you know, like all good, you know, see you later. Like,
so you're like, what, 19?
Yeah, 19, 20 or something like that. So I'm just like, get there and like, they're like, what have you done wrong? I said something about my visa. They're like, show me your passport, and they're looking at it and they're like, where is it? I go, same questions, where are you living, da da da. I'm like, Costa Mesa, I don't remember the address. Shit, you know, like, I'm from Australia. Like, that's all I can say. I'm from Australia, and they're like, he's like going, okay. Bang, go, like, and just stamped it, like, thought, and I think just saying, oh, I'm from Australia, you know, they was like, yep, cool. So get out the front, and those G's were waiting for me, like, still waiting. I was like, you know, like that. So I pooped my pants a little bit that time, you know, like, and that,
so you should,
and that made me scared, like, even more scared over there to do anything. And then I was running low on cash, and yeah. So the moral of the story is have enough cash and have a minder, you know, with those kids, you know. Like,
it sounds tough. I mean, it's a great opportunity, but yeah, there's other things that make it actually a success. And
yeah, like it was
going
great
there
time.
and battling is
well, the biggest thing
tough
for me was making those lifeline, you know, I suppose friendships with Shane Serena, Ty Coling, Bart Carnes, and Wayless Taylor, and they're all from Sydney type thing. I wouldn't have met them any other way unless I would have hung out at, you know, at Bondi mini ramp type thing, you know. So yeah, like.
And so, from all of that international stuff, what about local? What's some of your favourite spots locally, or what
at the moment?
been? No, have been. Yeah, over the years, what if you could go back and skate somewhere again? Where would it be?
Definitely Plaza. Had to be Plaza.
Yeah.
You know, on the rooftop there. Yeah, that was
Street.
just
Flatlands.
where Flatlands. Yeah, sorry, why do they call it Plaza? Flatlands. Yeah, so that was on top of where Federation Square is now. Like, there used to be the train station underneath. That was just marble. We'd flip the benches over and stuff like that. It was fun to days, you know. And there was lights there, and that was some of the best times in my life, you know, as a teenager, like 15, 16, 17. So that was it. I'd go skate that spot and probably, skate that spot. That's probably the one that comes to mind at the moment.
Cool. Yeah. And what about travelling nationally? So you've sort of mentioned a few things already. You went to Adelaide a few times and things. Aside from comps, did you travel for fun and had a bit of a skate somewhere without that sort of comp sort of side of things, just to have a bit of fun?
Yeah, look, I mean, I did a couple of, so I did a trip to Adelaide for the comp that got cancelled, but that was also a slam trip that was with myself and like Spencer Eagles and Andrew Curry and Dustin Dole and a few of those guys. Look, we're all there for a contest, but got rained out, so we're just all skating around in the streets and stuff like that. That was fun because it was like the pressure of the comp was off. So
and Adelaide's a pretty good street.
Yeah, there's rad street spots and the people were super friendly there and take us around, and it's good times, you know. So that was a fun trip. I've only been there twice, I think. So
out of the tours, what would be the best tour that you went on? And was it because of the terrain that you got to skate, or was it the friends you met, or the vibe of the town? What was it that was, what was your best one, do you reckon?
Definitely, well, the America tour. So I got to do the America tour. I can't remember the year, but it was called the Blunder Down Under and stuff. But it was like when America was at its, you know, it had Mark Johnson, it had
2000, huh?
Yeah, 2000. Yeah. So we'd just been evicted from the house down there, 208, and it was starting in Melbourne. So Darren Caney was the team manager at the time. I don't think I was even asked to go on it, but they asked Midzi to film it, and I was just like, I'm coming, you know. And they're like, yeah, sure, okay. So I didn't get paid anything. I just got to sit in the van and stuff and not pay for my accommodation. And so I moved. I used the van. I got Darren Caney to help me move all my shit out of this house here, put in storage in the tour van. It's like, yeah, oh, you got a van, let's go. I'm moving out, and then I'm moving to Sydney with you. So the plan was to do this tour and then move in with Darren Caney in Sydney. So I spent, so that was the most memorable because I got to do that tour. Tosh Townsend was on it, Donnie Barley, Mark Johnson. Reynolds came for like a day and a half and then did some weird shit and then had to leave because he was freaking out. Dustin made him party too hard or something like that. Who else was on it?
Dustin made him party too hard.
Aaron Susky. Who else was it? Susky, Strubing. Oh fuck, man! It was the raddest tour, and like, so they were all in these vans, and then we had the Aussie van. It was me, Midzi, and Darren Caney, and Eric Ellington was on that tour too. He was the only dude I think that jumped in our van because we were like partying pretty hard in the van, like drinking, smoking, all that dumb shit, you know. But I skated hard at every demo, like obviously not nearly as good as those guys, so I didn't get to watch them skate. But I did my best skating at those demos just because I had to, you know, like, and it was like just I'm on this, and that's where I felt like I was like really pushing it myself in unfamiliar terrain. So there's all skate parks I'd never skated before, and then after that, got back to Sydney and there weren't any photographers in Melbourne and I was going to get an interview for Slam magazine. So I just stayed in Sydney and shot a lot of stuff with Matt McGinley, who was like a rad dude to hang out with, who'd been in Melbourne before that tour and like been hanging out and getting some photos. And then the editor of Slam at that time, David Dare, was like, you should do an interview, you know. I was like, fuck yeah, you want me to do an interview? Sick, you know. So I was psyched on that. So then I just stayed in Sydney because Matt McGinley was my favourite photographer to like shoot with because he was just such a rad dude and funny dude. Like, yeah, it was just good times, you know. I had so much fun shooting that interview. Yeah.
Did you get to control the kind of interview content sort of stuff, or did they just...
Nah, so I blew it, well, because I got Jaff C to do the interview for me. So I came back to Melbourne.
We want to interview you, here's Jaff.
So I did all the photos, did the interview on that. It was like, you got to do the interview now. I was like, who do you want to interview? I'm like, oh, fuck, Jaff, you know, like, why not? And I think I came back to Melbourne for the winter and he like, I didn't even tell him what I wanted to talk about. And of course he talked to me about things that I shouldn't have talked about, which weren't to do with skateboarding, you know, mistakes I'd made, you know, and yeah, it was like, I read back on that interview and go, geez, like I could have done that interview a lot better and just talked about what I was doing or just, you know, fun stuff and just, you know.
I reckon that's most people's interviews, you know, when you read a
Especially
lot of
young.
skate interviews, you're so young,
terrible.
man,
Yeah.
and you say the dumbest things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
don't realise what it's going to come out like, and
Definitely, yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I almost didn't get the interview because I didn't do the interview on time, type thing, you know, like and
Deadline.
yeah, deadlines, you know, had the photos, but yeah, so, but yeah, that's so true, you know, like I've read other interviews with other kids and just gone, what is this guy talking about? I don't want to hear anything about what you're talking about, you know, like, but anyway,
It's all
And
good.
each to their own.
Still got an interview.
Yeah, yeah.
Quick update as well. Grant's gone for his second piss already, so he's out.
I haven't even done one. Can I just do a quick shout out to all the people in Brazil that are watching, because my wife's been doing a lot of promoting for me, and
She's
told
from Brazil?
Yeah, she's Brazilian. So shout out to Alexandra, my lovely wife, and my kids, because yeah, she's been telling everyone. I've been like, why are you telling it? She told my osteopath the other day to watch it, and it's like, why is he going to watch it? You know, like
He'll be able to advertise that he bone crunches Will Stoyles. You know.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's a big thing, yeah.
So this is going to get worldwide recognition now. So Brazil, it's a long way away.
How good
And
is
you
their
Stoyles kids, this is for, you know, your dad's legit, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
it.
their
So,
side's going international. How good is that?
Yeah, pretty cool.
We're growing.
so yeah.
You sort of touched on a couple of topics just there, which were one of the next things I was going to ask about, was some of the lower sides of skateboarding. And you said that in that interview you did mention a few things that you probably shouldn't have. Are there some things there that you want to mention now, clear up or anything? Or what were some of the low points that you've had to deal with in skateboarding?
Well, I'll start with the interview in terms of, I suppose, with all the culture of skateboarding at the time, it was graffiti based and hip hop based. So I got into the graph scene, and yeah, you know, you're a young kid, you're trying to find an identity, and one of the things is that you like to wreck shit, you know, or you're spraying your name around the place. It's like dogs pissing on a wall type thing. Dudes write their names on the wall, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I work with a lot of kids who are going through the exact same thing type thing. So for me, it was just kind of trying to find an identity outside of skateboarding, but also whether I had that identity in skateboarding. So I got in trouble for painting a train. So I did a piece on a train with a couple of other people and got busted for that, and got
Did you
charged.
get busted while you were doing it? Or
No. So got busted later on painting a wall, and then had police come to my house and everything like that. So I made a mistake, you know, and it was me, you know, and it's not about what I did. Like, obviously I've learnt from that and moved on, and I spoke about it in my interview type thing, and that's when I kind of decided that, what am I going to do? Do I want to spray trains all the time, which I'm not that good at, or do I want to skateboard, which I think I'm pretty good at, and I think I can make a living out of it? And so I decided to go with the skateboarding and just put that behind me. But it's also, you know, like, people make mistakes all the time, and it's not about making a mistake, it's about what you do afterwards.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So, you know,
absolutely.
like,
It's how you deal with that
Yeah.
adversity and what you make of that.
And unfortunately, I work with some youth at the moment that just keep, you know, falling down the wrong path and not finding that positive identity. And it's hard to, if you don't have people around you, like, and that's why skateboarding is so good to me, because I always had positive people around me going, yeah, you're doing good, you know, like, well done, keep it up, mate, you know, like, and that's what people need is someone to be saying, hey man, that was good, or that was shit, man, you know, like, you don't need to do that, like, you're not proving anything by doing that. But, you know, there's some great talented graffiti artists out there that make a living out of doing it legally, and, you know, and I like seeing graffiti, like,
yeah, I don't mind seeing it as well. It's something I've always grown up with around.
yeah.
So.
But I think too, like, moving back onto low points, I think my lowest point in skateboarding, when I got a bruised heel.
I was going to ask about injuries.
Yeah,
so yeah,
and that was just that was so shit, because I just, like, I think I was good, and then skate again, and then bang, do it, and it was like,
it's such a tense
After
thing.
you've done
Yeah.
it once, you're only the slightest tap, and you're like
and
crying.
it was like,
Was it one trick that did it initially?
yeah, I think it was skating like a set of stairs. I think it was Country Road, trying to fakey ollie Country Road, and just bailed it straight up and went straight to the heel, and then didn't make it, and then it took ages, and then apart from that, after that, I did my shoulder snowboarding a bit later on when I was about 34. Did my shoulder snowboarding, like, ripped all the tendons off here, did the AC, and it's just hanging off threads now, and that was terrible because I just couldn't skate it. Had no strength in it at all, and you just realise how important your shoulders are for skateboarding when you can't use them, you know, like.
Well, there's a guy called Timmy.
Tim Barlow, yes.
He sent a question in.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me what the question was.
Well, Timmy wanted to know, like, he goes, you live there apparently. He goes, how come you never paid any rent?
Yeah. So yeah, I suppose that was good call, and it was
Tim.
fair call. Back when you're 16, 17 and you're trying to get on the dole, it was pretty hard back then. Like you had to get a letter saying that you've been kicked out, and your parents don't want to say they've kicked you out, even though they've asked you politely not to come home because you've done stupid stuff. So I'd done a bit of stupid stuff and pissed them off that one too many times. So
Was it the graph stuff? Was that
no, that was
Seconds and thirds in comps, Dean.
No, so I don't know. I'd just done silly stuff at home, that too many parties, not cleaned up after myself type thing, and I think I'd broken a window or something like that, and then gone out and not come home. But
so the usual stuff.
yeah, just the usual stuff. But anyway, I think I asked to leave as well myself type thing. So
yeah, you're ready.
because they had the house and it was in North Melbourne. They were my G. So Oliver Perkovich, I'm wearing his Skater Stand shirt at the moment, and but yeah, Tim Bartle had decks in his house and used to play hip hop and let me get on the mic, and I was just like, "Gosh, I've been kicked out. Can I live with you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, come on." I think the rent was $25 a week or something like that, and I didn't have the money. I went to the dole, tried to apply. I think it took me like 2 months to get my first check off them without a letter from my parents saying, they sent social workers around saying to check whether my stepdad had, hurt me or anything like that, and that was the reason why. I was like, so
it turned into a shit fight.
Yeah, and then I remember going to my bank. They go, "Yeah, we've paid you." Hand in my form. I go to the bank. I go, "Sweet, I've got your money, Tim. I'll pay you tomorrow." Go there, $25. That's all I got from like a month or two's like back pay. I was like, I can't do this. So and then I think my parents bailed me out and gave them some cash type thing, but I had nothing. We were going down to. It was near the Vic Markets, so we were going down the Vic Markets at the night and stealing the tomatoes that they'd leave out overnight and just making tomato and toast and stuff like that, So that was great though. It's like I love those times.
It's like camping when you're 16.
Yeah, because I was like living in this room.
You don't know any different?
Yeah, living in a room like it was probably about as big as this table with my bed fit in it, and there was a skylight, and we'd go skate the streets all night every night. Wake up when I wanted to, it was good times, yeah.
So you're done with school, huh?
What's that? Yeah, I think I'd moved in and I was doing year 11 at that stage, and then I had to pay for all my books at the time. I just bought my books. Mum had just bought all my books, and I was doing a photography course, and I was that broke that I had to sell all my photography stuff, like my papers and all that stuff, just to buy food and stuff like that. So. And I was like, no, I'm going to stick with school, I've got to do it. And I stuck with school and kept going there, but couldn't get off study or anything like that. And but rad times, had a ball. So I'll pay you back one day, Tim.
You still skate with Timmy, don't you?
Yeah, we're still homies. Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
you should get him down to your masters comps.
Well, but he's got kids too, and he runs a restaurant, the Dojo in Northcote.
Ramen bar.
Yeah, ramen bar.
Really
Check
good.
it out.
Get down there.
Yeah, best ramen in Melbourne. So check it out. I love that joint. So it's pretty hard running a restaurant, having a kid, and getting to skate.
Still DJs as well, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well,
far out. What a life.
Wow.
That's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Before our toilet break, we were talking about some of the low times.
Yeah.
And we spoke before going live about one of the sponsor issues that happened. That was a low light, reflecting back upon the Etnies time, the America time.
Yeah.
Sorry. What was that situation? Explain that one.
I guess so. It might have been after the heel bruise type thing. So I wasn't doing much on the skateboard, but I always felt that I was part of the America family, and so I was getting flowed stuff, and then getting 2 pairs a month. Like I wasn't breaking down. There was other people getting bigger deals and stuff like that, but I was just happy with my 2 pairs a month. And then all of a sudden, like I'd call them up and ask for shoes, and I said, "Yeah, no worries," and they just wouldn't come. And then so I just kept calling, and then a new team manager came on board, and I spoke to him about it, and he asked if I was getting photos in mags, and I'd taken a few photos with Gourlay and stuff like that, but probably not good enough for the mags type thing, and so they weren't good enough for the mags, so they didn't get printed. but not as much. So there was a lot of other guys who were killing it, and I was probably, you know, like not doing much to it type thing, you know, like probably drinking too much or partying too much, but just, yeah, not killing it as I used to. So, and it wasn't winning comps anymore. So that was like, for me, I was just at a lull, and so they just stopped sending me shoes. And
could you sense that yourself at the time, or is that upon reflection you look back and you assess it like that?
Pig-headedness, you know. So I thought that I was owed the world type thing, you know. Like I wasn't saying it to everyone, but I still felt like I'd been loyal to this company and they owed me, you know, just to look after me, you know, like, and they should at least, you know, just, you know, send me one pair or something like that, you know. So yeah, I don't think I saw it. Like other people around me were probably telling me, but I wasn't listening type thing, you know. Yep. Like and I think you get. It's
an interesting time in your skate career when you've been at that level and then you're having to come back from that level, and because in your mind it's still there. Yeah, but yeah, it's not quite.
Oh, there, definitely, and you think
it's a tough one to deal with.
Yeah, you think that things are all good, and that's why you need someone in your corner that you trust and can say, "Hey, mate, pull your head in. Maybe you need to get off the booze for a month and just, you know, concentrate on skating, or is this what you want to do, you know, type thing." So, and I've always been heavily entrenched in the skate industry, and I think at some stages it's kind of burnt me out a bit. So, working at a skate park kind of made me kind of just get over skating.
You were working at Riverslide at the time?
Yeah, Riverslide, so I just kind of didn't like skating much, yeah.
You were there with Russell, is that right? Was he there at the time? Russell Mission?
Russell.
And he might have been there after you.
Maybe after, yeah. So I started at Sally Huts. Yeah, so we were kind of like Lincoln Scott and Tom Flaz worked there, and Nick Buskins, and those guys kind of, I think, were the starters of, like, they used to have lifeguards working at the skate park, and we're all skating there, and we're like, "Oh, are you a skater?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "So what are you?" And we're a lifeguard. I was like, "This is bullshit," you know. And I think we were just like, I'm not sure who it is, Flaz or Lynx must have contacted the YMCA and said, "What do you got lifeguards working at a skate park? You need skaters working there." So I think they gave us all a skate, like I think, those three got the jobs there first, and then I was like, fuck, this is a chill job, you know, like you get to work at the skate park and organise contests and do all this stuff, because it was just building that skate park at the time. So it was rad. And then so I applied for a job there just before it was closing down, and there was, you're talking about Lynn, were you?
No.
Tripper Lynn, no, anyway, no. So yeah, but anyway, so yeah, it was great times, and then you just, why not get paid? I think it's $10-15 an hour just to hang out at your local skate park and still get the dole, you know. I was, by that stage I could get the dole, and I was living the dream of skating and, you know, working in a skate park that was new a few days a week type thing, so.
Luckily, I don't think their side is being audited yet by the tax agent, so you can't get the dole and get work as well.
No, and if you work enough hours, I worked it out, don't worry, you know, like,
Good balance, good balance.
Yeah, you did that for a long time though, like you went over to Riverside and worked there.
Yeah.
And it got bigger, didn't it?
And they were never hiring people full-time. They had people, like 2-3 people full-time that they'd hire. And I think in the end, that's why I left Riverside, because they wouldn't give me a full-time job as I got into my 30s and was like late 30s or early 30s, whatever you want to call it. But I wanted something I didn't want to be on the dole anymore.
You wanted more stability.
Yeah, I wanted to work, and I wanted to shape what I thought I wanted from that skate park. You know, I had this vision of, like, this is how I want to run the place, but there was people that were running it that they had the control, and that they'd been working there for a long time, so they were happy to do it their way, you know, and take input from people, you know. So yeah.
Did you remind them that you had been to Government House and got $1,500?
El Presidente, yeah.
You should have had that photo in your wallet, man.
Like, yeah, that's it. No.
You did some good shit there. Like you got involved in the coaching programs and writing the procedures and how it's done. And
so I mean, they had a skate coaching program there, and they had a coach who didn't skate, who was just a manager there, who was one of the other ones that was full-time, and I didn't feel that was right, and so I pushed for the skaters to get paid more than the hourly rate, because they were doing 30 kids for a session or 20 kids. I was like, well, that's not fair. If you're taking $15 per kid and you've got 20 kids, why isn't the skater getting the main cut for that? Just I don't want to get $15 an hour if 10 kids are paying $15 an hour. It's not fair, and it's not fair for anyone else, you know. So
that's right.
So they did an accreditation course through a few people and stuff like that. So I was accredited, so you got paid more for being an accredited coach, which is good, yeah. So I think it just benefited skaters and made it more legit, I think, and made it so that still anyone could do the course though. So you know, like I think.
Did you help write that criteria? What it was? Or?
I did more about programming, so I did a lot of after school programs type things. So I'd go out to schools all around Victoria and do after school programs, and then or do programs in schools, like and so I'd write up a kind of flow sheet of how the day should run and or ways of engaging the kids in skateboarding, or you know, you start this way, It's just a bit of
the active after school program.
Active after school, and that was some of the funnest time.
That was good.
Like, it was only a 2-hour shift. Like I hated the small shifts. That was what killed me about working. It's like, yeah, come to work for 2 hours. It's like, cool. So I've got to travel 45 minutes each way.
Legally, you've got to employ someone for 3 hours. Isn't something you could get them pro rata, man? Like, go back.
I don't think I'll be making much money out of that.
$15, come on.
Yeah. No, I'm still living off that $1,500 from the
government.
From the government.
Government house.
Government house. I've still got a few bucks left. So, yeah.
Speaking of some of the other important things you've done, you also were the feature on a stamp, which was actually $1.45. That's not a bad level of stamp.
$1.45.
Yeah, worldwide, baby.
That's impressive.
So back in the day, that would have been, you know, you would have been able to send a whole 20-kilogram package around the world for that price.
Was it $1.45 because so you could send like America shoes through the post?
How did it come about that you got on a stamp? And it's actually kind of got like a graph style setup on it too.
So yeah, funny story, because it was kind of towards that not demise, but when the lull in my skateboarding, it was kind of like I think I was 36 or something, or
that's it. And then the photo and the stamp, the photo that it came from, and the stamp.
So that's obviously a photo when I was like 19 years old or something, 20 years old. But the photo didn't resurface for about another 8 or 9 years. So I get this phone call from Brett Stanley, who's a photographer.
Oh yeah.
Who I think he was a motocross photographer at the time, and then he just decided.
Do you know?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so he came down to Sale Yards and just started snapping some skate shots. Yeah, so he called me up, said, Australia Post want to use your photo on a stamp. I'm like, you're joking. And I spoke to someone else after that, and they're like, dude, if you don't take that, they'll take the next best photo, you know, whatever it is type thing. So went in there with an open mind, like, yeah, cool, I'll take whatever I can get, just put me on the stamp. So they go, here, we'll give you $380 to use you on the stamp, cash. I was like, yep, thank you. Took $380, and it's like, can I get some free stamps? Like, yeah, we'll give you a few free stamps. So, like, they came out, and I think it's the 18th of July or something on their first issue, and not a lot of people actually believed me, or no one's ever come up and said, oh, you're on a stamp or anything like that. So, like, coming back to one of my favourite skaters, Chris Miller was on a stamp, and then, so I've been on the stamp, but haven't got much props from it at all. I've had to tell everyone in the skate industry that I'm on the stamp.
Okay, stamp boy.
Yeah.
That's all I'll be calling you from now on.
I love that call. I've had to tell everyone.
G'day, I'm Will. Do you know I'm on a stamp?
Yeah, I think they put it in Slam, the stamp, and said, Australia Post are trying to jump on the bandwagon of skateboarding, and
that's good.
That gets me overseas. But
that would have got at least in New Zealand.
It was an extreme series, so there was a surfer and there was a motocross.
Oh,
and I think the motocross was a little bit more extreme. He was $2, and the surfer was the least extreme. It was like 65 cents or something.
Right. You heard about Grant and his photo that also got spread around on magazines and things elsewhere when they needed something radical. Yeah. So if it hadn't have been extreme, if it had been radical, you could have been on a stamp as well.
Well, if you actually go back, if you look at the stamp and the actual postcard, my arm's missing. They've photocropped my arm in, if we can get the photo up again.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
So they've put an extra arm on there. Wow. I think they've just flipped my same arm and put it on there.
Yeah, they did. I'm really disappointed they didn't use a spazzy hand on that.
There's no spazzy hand on there.
Yeah. I think because I'm actually going to do a melancholy, like my hands ready for
ready
melon.
to grab. Yep. That's actually one of the coolest things about the stamp.
It would
the
be
fact
right.
that from the
fence
photo
was
to
big
that.
to get
It
over.
looks like a frontside ollie.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yep.
So that's from a different angle. That's when, so we got a bit more burly.
Who's on the other side of the page there?
That's me too, doing the salad grind 180 out.
Nice.
So that was some cool stuff. But anyway,
Is that a photo of you with your top off?
yeah. So that
Where
was
did you go?
that was the Manly comp. So I had to do a switch frontside flip in my run to win the contest because I had to beat
Why was your top off?
because
For the
yeah, it's pretty small.
Pretty small.
I,
it was at Manly.
I used to be skinny. Yeah, I used to be skinny, and girls liked skinny guys.
And were you wearing, I can't see the photo, but were you wearing immense blank cargos?
Yeah, I got blank cargos on.
That was the look.
Yeah.
That was the look.
And I got Ronnie Krager ESs on. I was still on ES at the time.
Crazy.
Yeah, so that was when I could wear my shirt with off, you know. But yeah, so that was good times.
And while we're over grabbing some things from the side, there was also the 1996 Australian skate titles, and this is like a certificate for placing fifth.
Yeah.
And with that one there was a bit of a story about this competition itself, wasn't there?
Yeah, definitely.
First of all, it's a pretty official little certificate. You've got the people have signed it as well, so this is legit. Fifth place
Yeah.
for the Gold Coast
now you're
Easter
doing
weekend
1,086,
Australian.
was it?
Yeah. Well, so yeah, I mean, for some, it's insignificant, the fifth place, but for me, that was a really, I think, turning point in my kind of mindset about showing resilience and stuff. That I think I was at dinner with my dad and stepmum at the time, because my dad and mum weren't together, so I'd always, when I needed stuff, obviously I'd ask my dad for the skate stuff, so I'd hit him up. So I wanted to go to Queensland for this contest. I was in Gold Coast, I'd never been there before, and so I hit him up for the bus fare and some spending cash, because I didn't have any means of cash and wanted to go there. And he's like, well, it's pretty expensive. Why do you want to go to Queensland and Gold Coast for a skateboarding contest? What's the point? And I was like, it's my life. This is what I love to do, you know. Like, and he's like, but what are you going to do when you're older? And I said, I want to be a skateboarder. And he's like, no, but what are you going to do? I go, I want to be a skateboarder. So what do you want to do? I'm like, I want to be a fucking skateboarder. You know, that's all I want to do. And he's like, oh, all right, how much do you want? I gave him the price, whatever it was. And he goes, all right, I'll give you this cash, but when you get back, you seriously got to think about what you're going to do, you know, like after this contest, you know, like where you want to be in your life and stuff like that. So I got there, we jumped on the bus, me and Tim Barlow. It was like a 24-hour bus ride from Melbourne to Gold Coast. I think we stopped at Sydney.
That had to be torture in itself.
So and we had Walkmans back then, so you had to buy batteries, you know, like
You'd run out of batteries.
You didn't take this puppy?
yeah, that was way before those invented. There wasn't CD players back then. Oh, there was, but there wasn't.
Yeah.
Not CD.
There wasn't even Discman back
Still
then.
mixtape.
So mixtape, yeah. So I borrowed a bunch of my mate Freddie Fowler's tapes, which he didn't want to lend to me, but I borrowed them off him, like about 10 mixtapes.
Who'd you say you went with?
Tim Barlow. So we jumped on the bus, and then we get there about 5 a.m. in the morning, and it's super hot, and we're tired as we didn't sleep at all on the bus. And we jump off the bus, and there's this beautiful park there, and it's like grass, and we're like, yeah, let's just crash here. So we just chuck our shit on the ground. I think we put our skateboards as pillows, wake up like 5 hours later, drenched in sweat, and like, where's our bags? All our bags have been stolen. Oh. So all our money, everything. So we didn't even have enough money to call our parents or anything. So we had to go to the police station, report it, and then we went to the bank, and we had to like get our bank to call our parents to say, hey, can you transfer us some money? So, and they had to transfer us money and give us cash. So it was just a weird, like it was just the worst start to the trip. Me and Tim are like sitting on the bus together for like 24 hours, already at each other's throats, and then we had to like do this shit, and we're just like walking, trying to find it, going, fuck yeah, you know, like just hating each other, like, but still got to get there and stuff. And then we get that money sorted, then we get to...
So all you had was your skateboard and then some money?
Yeah, some money. So
and that's it. No other clothes?
That's
nothing.
it. I think we had like maybe a backpack or something like that. But yeah, I think, or maybe just the clothes were on our back. And then we got transferred money. I only asked for $60 and we were there for like 2 weeks. So I was too scared to ask for more money. And then, so living off Subway had just opened over there, and like someone had like, I think Scotty Gibson was there and Nick Kildare, and he had this card that you'd buy a foot long and you get a free foot long. So yeah, you'd buy one and get one free. So I was getting the meat lovers one. Oh no, the meatballs one.
Yeah.
Heaps of chili sauce.
That was the go-to.
Yeah. And I get 2 of them, and I'd eat half for breakfast, and then I'd wait for lunch, and then I'd eat the next 2, you know, throughout the day. But the shit thing about that trip too was the first skate we went for in Queensland. After dealing with all that shit, we dropped our shit off at the house we're staying at. We're skating down the street. Tim does this. We go down this massive, like, downhill, and then it goes uphill. And I'm watching Tim, and I'm behind him. And he does this massive ollie, but he kind of lands on the sandy bit, like to Smith grind, and like with heaps of speed, and then just goes like that. And he just gets up like that, like, oh, like fucking spazzing out, like he's just been hit with a taser. And it's he's popped his shoulder out, you know. So, and me and Tim at that stage.
And it's day one.
Yeah,
well.
this is day one. You know, day 2, because all the shit we're going through pretty much. So almost, yeah, like, and ever since then, like me and Tim, we were really pushing each other at that stage in skateboarding, and like I felt that we were like, we were kind of like good to skate together, because we were like learning shit real quick, and he had a car and he'd drive to spots and take me along, and I'd stay at his place, and there's a whole new crew and stuff. And then he did his shoulder and he couldn't skate the same ever since. And like, so that's what got him into DJing, was the fact that he was like, well, I can't skate properly.
Work at Lush?
No, never.
Never worked at Lush?
They bought a board press after Globe did, and I kind of went in there and kind of helped them like do it. I think they knew how to do it anyway, but they just wanted to see if they were doing it the right way, and just showed, I think, the guys working in the factory like how I did it at Globe, and they just did it with me, and that was it.
in Pilkington Street in St Kilda?
St Kilda, yeah. And then I did a bit of work at Black Box with Barnaby Lawrence, just in the warehouse there and stuff, but yeah.
Cool.
Is that where that mini ramp was?
Yeah, that was the Radisson
ramp. I was trying to remember that.
Yeah.
Well, I went there like once or twice, like just before it got pulled down, and I was like, I could not remember where the hell it was.
It was like in...
like Sunshine
between...
Like,
Yarraville.
Yarraville, yeah, that's the one, yeah. In just the ghetto estate.
Ralph wound up with that, didn't he?
Did he?
I think so.
oh, wow.
The mini ramp?
I think so.
How would he have gotten it out of the place? Jeez.
Don't know.
Yeah.
I
On his
thought
back, he's pretty strong.
what was that brand? It was doing some brand.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was the best ramp ever.
It's on the other side of town.
Pretty good.
Yeah. And that was good working for those guys, because we used to do like a full week of work, but Fridays would finish at 12:30. And so
That's a full week.
12:30?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So how good is that, like working in the warehouse, just packing boxes and then getting to finish at 12:30 on Friday?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so that was a good start to the weekend.
Yeah.
And there's other stuff, but I can't remember at the moment.
It's been a pretty awesome chat, actually. I've enjoyed most of this. There was a point where I was needing to go to the toilet, but you were telling a story. I'm like, I'm sticking around for this one.
Yeah.
So it's been good, but I've sort of let a few of the topics. Are there any things that you wanted to touch upon that we haven't mentioned already? Is any stories or experiences that...
I wrote some stuff down in my phone, but I think for me, I suppose, I'll go back to the Snake Pit days and just the radness of being there, because when Ramp Right was on and stuff like that, I remember going into Snake Pit and Lee Ralph was in there, and just, I didn't know who he was at the time, and I think my friends at the time...
There was a homeless guy?
Yeah, exactly, yeah, well that's my point, yeah, I just remember his stench, and he just stunk so bad. I was like, and then I left, I go, jeez, that guy stunk so bad. And then my older mate Merlin's like, that's Lee Ralph, you know. I'm like, yeah, he was like, oh, you know, and then he showed me photos in the magazine. I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, do you know that one time he wore his boxer shorts until they rotted off his like, until they fell off, and that was the story. And it was like,
it's totally the story.
You know? And the funny thing is, like, I got to meet Lee Ralph like 20 years later, and he's like the most humble,
he is
raddest
really
dude. And I was
he's really quiet as well.
Yeah, and I was living with Gourlay and yeah, and he just was down in Melbourne and was staying with us as well, and yeah, like rad dude, and just such a like, he always, when he sees me, he always remembers the last time we saw each other, and we'll tell a story. Oh, Will, you know, like, I think I was, like, it was around World Cup time, and I was in Gourlay's, like, lounge room with the lights kind of off, and he walked in, and I was just sitting there, and he's like, what's going on, Will? And I was like, oh, I'm just stressing about the comp, man, you know, because I had to skate in the World Cup for the first time, and he just loves that story. He goes, oh, came in and Will's sitting there in a dark room, like, and I was like, what's the matter? And he's like, oh, I was just worried about the comp. He's like, just thinks it's hilarious. You know, so that Lee Ralph, like the biggest legend of all, was like telling a story about me type thing. But
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
What about skate beefs? You got one out there at the moment with Conce?
Yeah, well, you know, he thinks he knows how to drop in. You know?
That drop in off the roof
Falco
pretty gnarly.
Yeah, but I don't know, the technique, I've taught a lot of kids how to drop in, and the drop in, you put your tail on, you drop,
he didn't
and then you roll away. I don't think there was a board anywhere near his feet.
Oh yeah,
and apparently, so I've lost that the first one. So
there'll be more.
Yeah, so I'm looking for one that I've got to get him to drop in on and say, hey, and I might get my son, who's like 2 years old, to drop in on something and say, this is how you drop in.
I think you did better than that.
That's actually good.
Saw,
So that's similar to our Ollie competition. You can have that with cons. It's Belco Rails is that's where he posts up his attempts.
Yeah, and they're hilarious. I love watching his.
They're pretty
those
funny.
guys are awesome.
They're the greatest, you know. So like,
I only come across it recently, and it's
I'll give it to Cons. Like, Kiz was much more like, he's got Jim Fowley to help him film it and give him the ideas, because Cons wouldn't know what he's doing, you know. Jim would have obviously told him, Cons, stand
this
here.
This is skate beef material.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like, Jim's obviously like putting words into his mouth. But if you've ever seen a drop in, I think technically you have to land on your board, not in a pool with the board. I don't think the board even landed.
I don't think it made it in the pool.
No,
I'm not sure. Did you see his kids walk off in the footage disgusted, or wasn't a make?
Anyway, so yeah, that skate beef. So I've got to quench that. And
so
just, you know.
while we're talking about cons, do you remember the party at Jaff's place?
Yeah, well, that's where like I got the idea from. So yeah,
that was the gnarliest thing I've ever seen, man. Yeah. That was crazy.
We tried to get the footage for.
This is a drop in.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So it was actually my birthday that day. I think I was turning 20, and Jaff was having a Christmas party at his mini ramp in Yarraville, and like so he had this extension thing that was like the width of the ramp, you know, so it was about
9 foot.
9 foot, probably. Yeah.
Well, we can go higher. We're all older. We can go 29.
Yeah,
20, 30
look, I'll say 9 foot. Just like his ramp was.
Yeah, it could be 10, 9, 10.
Yeah, his ramp was like 16 foot wide, I think. Anyway, so we're all skating it that way. It was just a death box, you know. Having a rad skate on my birthday, and I was getting pretty juiced and stuff and drinking, and then the whole time I'm thinking, fuck, imagine like turning that thing on its side, you know, they get the party going if I turn it on its side, dropped in, you know, and then I was like, nah, fuck, that's a stupid idea, you know, and then I think, you know, a few more drinks later, I'm like, nah, I'm going to do it, like, or I said it to someone, you know, like, and then...
Cons, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, cool, all right,Ll pick it up. So they picked it up, and they get up there.
How did you even climb up?
Cons was egging you on something.
We needed a ladder.
You did, yeah.
You needed a ladder to get on there, and I'm up there going, nah, this isn't a good idea, and then Cons like, do it, Stoyles, you faggot! Do it, you pussy! I was like, that's all I could hear as I'm thinking, no, don't do it. And I was like, fuck. All right, just do it. Yeah. So I did it, dropped in, like fucking plugged, and then,
well, there was no curve for that drop, you know? Like it was...
No, like even if I did make it down, but I think my back foot slipped off as I was going down, and then I just went crunch. Headbutted the other side of the platform, and then the footage is me snoring.
No, straight to flat. Like you hit the curve. I was there. You hit the curve, and you just could not. The momentum, the inertia was just too gnarly, and so you just went straight into the flat.
Yeah.
Like through the. Like you probably. I don't know. I was pretty pissed too, but so it was gnarly, man.
Well, you know, like, and then all I remember is like from seeing the footage, is Cons go, get up, and he's poured beer all over me while I'm on the floor.
You're unconscious.
Yeah, unconscious snoring, but
well, there was a lot of piss dudes. It took a little bit of time to realise that you were out.
Well, lucky Renton Miller was the only one there sober enough to go, nah, we're getting him to hospital, and so
him and Gourlay.
Yeah, him and they picked me up and drove me to Footscray Hospital and got MRI scans and stuff, and I had bleeding of the brain. and spent the night in hospital, and then that that was just before Christmas. I couldn't fly or anything. I was supposed to go to Sydney for Christmas with the family and staying there. But that was, rolled ankle, but dumb stuff you do, as a kid. And I'm lucky.
You've learned drop-in since, though.
Yeah, well, better than concert.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah, Concy was very instrumental, I reckon, in stirring the pot that night.
So I think
on the topic of drop-ins, I really want to tell this story too. My first drop-in on vert, I was at Torquay. You know how they used to have the mini ramp and the vert ramp? You had to walk from spot to spot. And I remember skating the mini ramp with my mate. Like, I think I had a mate there. I was bragging to someone, I'm going to drop in on the vert ramp today, I was like, but I don't have my pads, And then Trav Pertzel was there skating, and he's like, what? You don't have your pads? I got pads. Let's go now. Come on. It was like,
that's Trav, all right.
Okay. All right, Trav, let's do it, mate. So, I didn't know him at the time, and then he walked me up to the vert ramp, gave me the pads and G'd me up. I was standing up there for ages. And I remember just sitting up there for ages, like, you can do it, man, you can do it, man. All my mates like, you can't do it, you can't do it. And I was like, oh, fuck you guys. And then so I dropped in, did the, leaned forward too much, but landed, but did the acid drop in, but landed it onto plate. And I was like, did it. Then ran up, did it again, and kept doing it that way,
Wow.
So Trav Pertzel got me to drop in, and we've been mates ever since then.
How old were you then?
Oh, it would have been 12 or 13.
Easy.
I think, yeah.
See that? Great. 12. He dropped in at 12.
But that's all I could do on vert, so I learnt to drop in and kick turn.
He went the other way. He could do airs and everything, couldn't drop in.
Yeah, I was sort of doing stuff, and for some reason I just had this phobia. I was
like Wedge Francis, didn't drop in, but just axled in.
Axled in, I know.
Yeah.
He's just started doing that. It's crazy.
He's dropping in now, though.
Yeah,
Did we have any questions, Aaron, from our online viewers at all? None from Brazil?
We'll address that later.
All right. We are pretty much close to running out of time due to the satellite connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could only get the CIA satellite to transfer.
Yeah, headquarters have just responded. We have run out of satellite time. So we are going to have to wrap things up, but it's been a really fun talk. And I've known you since you were a little tacker, but I've never known you. So it's been good to be able to sit here and have this type of a chat and ask these questions and hear the stories, because I've really enjoyed it and now got to know a bit more about what made you over the years.
Yeah.
And hopefully our viewers at home, on their deck, wherever they are, they are able to, in Brazil.
Yeah,
could be.
Lucas Coulson, good on you for not being here today and allowing me to sit in the spot and having a chat to Will. It's been fantastic. Thanks to Grant and Pete, who's also had to step out again, for joining us on this one as well. And
no, thank you guys.
Thank you,
no,
Will.
It's definitely a pleasure, and it's it's great to be able to talk about what you love doing and be able to share it with other people, and hopefully share it with others and kind of talk about their story, with others. I mean, it's just it's
fantastic
therapy.
format too. This is great. Their side is just a magnificent way for us to be able to capture skate history in Victoria and in our own words, which is something that's never often done. So it's really
definitely
great to have yours on there, because we've sort of had a few of the older guys, and we had Grant and myself, and then we've had you. As in terms of eras, we're kind of moving through the eras that way. Not that we're going deliberately in a particular era order.
It's funny, I was saying earlier, Will's only 4 years younger than me, but it's almost like a whole nother generation of skateboarding.
Definitely.
It is.
And it was funny, I didn't really know him that much. You were always there when we were younger.
Yeah.
And I maybe didn't see you. I saw you at Ring of Fire once, 10 years ago or whatever, and then caught up with you again. It's like I've known you, all our lives kind of thing, but not really known you. It's been...
I'm not sure exactly how long the interview's gone for. It's been a while.
It's probably...
2 hours? Oh, 2+ hours.
Time flies when you're having fun. Huh?
Yeah, but the reason this whole 2 hours has passed is to get to this main question of who's got the better pop?
Do we need to call Mum?
I just think you guys have got to come to the next contest, and,
all right.
and we can have a separate contest, because I judge the contest for King of Concrete. So
okay, we'll do that as long as you're retired.
Contest with you, yeah. I won't go on the comp now because I got no.
We'll be there.
So I just want to see you guys. I'll set up I'll talk to Renton and I'll see if sponsors. We'll get what sponsors we can get for it. And,
sounds good. I'm only getting out of bed for 10 grand a day.
So. Yeah, that's
Aaron?
Yeah.
No, you're only getting out of bed for ollie training at Kensington.
That's right. But the real question that we get to after our 2 hours of conversation is the nomination. Who have you thought about and got lined up who you would like to hear their story going forward? Who would you like to see?
Well,
in the
I
hot
think
seat?
it's great that you said Junior, because he's an obvious choice for me and a great person. I'd like to, a big influence for me too, and I didn't probably mention, but Nick Dairy.
Yes.
He's had a great career in skateboarding, longer than mine, and he's always been there for me. So I think he's a great person. So I'd definitely say Nick Dairy.
Yeah.
And
he was on our list as well.
Yeah, and probably Renton Miller, just because Renton's done so much travelling and can talk about management and just so much current stuff too. That
we'll get him after the Olympics, and then we'll.
Yeah, get the
might
feedback.
Be busy.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
definitely.
Yep.
Those guys, those three are all ones that I was like. They were all on my list as well.
Perfect,
It was like
I think Kildare is a good one.
You can't go through the history of.
But the only problem with Nick
without
though, you might have to move it to St Kilda, or you might have to have it at Yellowbird.
He's never been on Yellowbird.
He doesn't go much further than Yellowbird.
Been out of there.
Yeah, he doesn't make it outside of Paran or.
He used to be Fitzy. He used to rip Fitzy and did that. Did he like a hippie twist over the out of the bowl into the?
No, it wasn't a hippie fit twist, mate. It was a backside 360 Indy. Come on.
I think it was mute. It's mute.
Okay.
Mute. I reckon.
Mute.
Yeah.
Well, he went 360 and he turned in a backside direction.
Hippie twist, mate. That's early grab.
Early grab.
Actually, hippie twist does.
That would be gnarly. If you did a hippie grabbing before, as you're going over the bump and pumping while you'd have to be pretty flexible to do that shit.
Oh, cool.
All right.
But no, thanks for having me. And great. Thanks for that. And big shout out to my wife and kids at home, Gustavo, Naomi, Sebastian, Alexandra, and all my Brazilian friends that hopefully are watching. And so it's been great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to Single Fin, the fantastic beer that's keeping us going. Yes, we heard that you've purchased, so the investment's worth it.
Yeah.
And thanks for the team, the production team, which again, the guys on the watching at home don't get to see just how much goes into this. There's about 27 people around the back here doing all various bits and pieces, making things
hard. They don't stop the whole time.
If only they knew which buttons to press, it would work, but we're good. So thanks again. Looking forward to next week. Are we back next week, maybe?
Sometime.
Couple of weeks off.
Podcasts and stuff.
Yep, couple of weeks off. But look out, keep an eye out on YouTube and all the iTunes, because it's both on YouTube and the iTunes and various podcasting platforms. So keep an eye out on all of those versions. Listen up, get involved, share the stories, and maybe it's going to be you on the seat next time. So thanks again, their side. Thanks, Will.
Thank you. Cheers, mate.
Cheers,
That was great. Thank you. That was amazing. Fuck, we talked for that long. I probably did most of the talking. I'm just like...
No, you're supposed
That's the idea of it.
Yeah. That's it.